That's what we do here. And even though the lockdown has been extended for 1 week and we're still under that particular lockdown, we believe that you're doing the necessary during this Ramadan period and, of course, even after.
Yes, it's a bright new day here in the beautiful city of Lagos, and it's your premium entertainment family breakfast show. Wake up, Nigeria!
Of course, another edition. My name is Mike Messikeno.
And I am Tokwe Olowonio. Now let's get started. You can stream with us. Is also an option you have. Now it's at tvcentertainment.tv and on Facebook at TVC Connect.
If you want to comment, use the hashtag Wake Up Nigeria on TVC across Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Yes. Now remember, our app is available for download, and guess what? It allows you to watch us from anywhere in the world as long as you have internet connection. It's available on all Android and iOS platforms.
Welcome.
Morning.
Yeah, morning. The lockdown was extended.
Wait. How did you do your hair? How did you get to achieve this haircut? Did you discover your hair barbing skills?
That's what's happening. During this period of lockdown, everybody, skills that you don't know are coming out. But then, hey, come on. It was extended for, say, about 6 days, 1 week.
Yeah.
1 week. And I think it's a good thing.
Yeah. You think it's them releasing us?
It has to be extended, yes, but you know that somewhere or the other, the economy has to be kicked off because... Yeah. Which is, of course, one of the reasons why we'll talk to our jury. We're talking about how the palliatives work, because a number of people have stated that, look, it hasn't gotten to them. Yeah. And this is a month into lockdown.
It hasn't gotten to me.
It hasn't. You're not the one they're looking for.
I'm in Nigeria.
We don't give palliatives.
Please, I want palliative.
True that, but you see, so that's a point. Some way or some way, the economy has to move. People have to go. People are already even going out. So it's about finding a mix and a balance. For Lagos State, face masks are compulsory, from this week moving on. So if you're going to go out, make sure that you're wearing a face mask. I don't know what will happen. I don't know because...
Punishment, frog jump.
Oh, frog jump. Yeah, maybe you might, for those of you that want to work on your glutes and you want to have some, squat, squat, you want to help your backside and all that for ladies and all that. Maybe you can go out without your mask and if you do small frog jump, you'll be all right.
Exercise, if you want to
you'll be all right. So, from next week, from Monday, according to their address, some establishments, some offices can open between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. But
then let's be objective here, like practical rather. This is Lagos, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. As in 9 a.m. is when people are getting to their office, 6 p.m. is when people are beginning to leave.
Yeah, so at least there has to be gradual. You can't just open it up. There has to be a gradual, it has to gradually ease into a full opening of the economy, you understand? So if you have to leave the house by 9 o'clock, then listen to them and do it. You can't just start leaving the house normally. And then with time, you understand, once we make sure that it is contained, then we can start saying, okay, go out at a normal time. So that's just...
And when you do go out, practice social distancing. I said now it's more like it's all man for himself.
Exactly.
Like if everybody's coming here, you run.
Exactly.
Don't come near me.
Exactly. That's how it is. So, hey, come on. Ensure that you maintain social distancing. That's quite very important for you. Okay? But now we have to take the news, and Tokwe has us covered on that one.
Yes. President Muhammadu Buhari has approved what he termed phased and gradual lockdown measures in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, Lagos, and Ogun State, effective Monday, 4th of May, 2020 at 9 a.m. TVC's senior political correspondent, Ayodele Ozugbaku, in this report, looks at the lockdown to fight the spread of COVID-19.
These are trying times for billions of people across the world. In the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, countries are taking measures to combat the deadly virus as it spreads rapidly and cripples the global economy.
Based on the advice of the Federal Ministry of Health and the NCDC, I am directing the cessation of all movements.
As a result of the rise in the number of confirmed cases of coronavirus in Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari ordered a lockdown in Abuja, Lagos, and Ogun states from Monday, the 30th of March. As at 24th of March, the country had just 131 confirmed cases of COVID-19. By 13th of April, Some 14 days after, the figure rose to 343 and 10 deaths. But after a month of lockdown and several interventions put in place by the federal government to contain the virus, the country recorded 1,273 cases, putting the increase rate at an all-time high. The 28-day lockdown took a great toll on the country's economy. The government was initially at crossroads over what to do with the ever-growing figure of the pandemic across the country. Now, the poor citizens are agitating for the lockdown to be relaxed. President Buhari maintained the existing lockdown order and approved a phased and gradual easing of the lockdown measures on Lagos, Ogun, and FCT effectively from the 4th of May.
I have approved a phased and gradual easing of lockdown measures in FCT, Lagos, and Ogun states effective from Monday, 4th of May 2020.
The president reeled out highlights of the new nationwide measures.
A. There will be an overnight curfew from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. This means all movements will be prohibited during this period, except for essential services. B. There will be a ban on non-essential interstate passenger travel until further notice. C. Partial and controlled interstate movement of goods and services will be allowed for the movement of goods and services from producers to consumers. And D. We will strictly ensure the mandatory use of face masks or coverings in public, in addition to maintaining physical distancing and personal hygiene.
The president commended security agencies for rising to the occasion.
While we feel deeply concerned about isolated security incidents, I want to assure all Nigerians that your safety and security remain our primary concern, especially in these difficult and uncertain times. As we focus on protecting lives and properties, we will not tolerate any human rights abuses by our security agencies.
The president says the revised guidelines do not apply to Kano as the state is still under total lockdown.
These revised guidelines will not apply to Kano State. With regards to Kano, I have directed the enforcement of a total lockdown for a period of 2 weeks effective immediately. The federal government shall deploy all the necessary human, material, and technical resources to support the state in controlling and containing the pandemic and preventing the risk of further spread to neighboring states.
With about 3 million people infected worldwide by the ravaging pandemic, Nigeria has recorded 40 fatalities, while several people have been discharged after treatment. It might take more time for life and business to fully resume. Ayodele Uzubaku, TVC News, Lagos.
Well, that's it on news updates for this hour, but we'll take a break and return with sports news. Thank you very much, Mike. Today is Tuesday, 28th of April, and we're starting with the Punch. Buhari declares interstate lockdown as nationwide curfew begins Monday. Shuts down Kano for 2 weeks. OK's extension in Lagos, Ogun, FCT. Lockdown will fail without effective testing, warns Jonathan. Let my father rest in peace, Abba Kyari's daughter tells critics. There's a photo story here showing fire guts Lagos NNPC station, 30 cars, buildings. You can see that on pages 4 and 5. Dar Communication chairman tests positive for COVID-19. Kenny Martin's 7.7 billion naira alleged fraud case gets fresh date. My CSO died of coronavirus, declares Tinubu. 18 arrested, prostitutes isolated, brothel shot in Ondo State. Controversy as NBA disowns Lagos lawyer critic. Ekiti Commissioner's abductors demand 30 million naira. Moving to the top, we have be ready to pay higher for fuel, PPPRA. We distributed NAFDAC certified rice, federal government tells states. Lastly, we have IMF may approve Nigeria's $3.4 billion loan today. You can see that and more on the Punch newspaper. Moving on to Nigerian Tribune, we have Buhari orders nationwide curfew from the 4th of May. OK faced easing of lockdown in FCT, Lagos and Ogun. Says use of face mask now compulsory. Directs immediate shutdown of Kano. Interstate passenger travels banned indefinitely. Restriction on social, religious gatherings still in place. There's a photo story here that shows the traffic at the entrance of the Oyo State Secretariat in Ibadan as workers on grade level 13 and above resume work on Monday. Also, we have Polaris Bank post 28 billion naira PBT in first full financial year operation. Atiku's son tests negative for COVID-19 after 40 days of isolation. NCDC begins contact tracing as Tinubu's late CSO, another aide, tests positive for COVID-19. Ex-governor wife tests negative. Lagos discharges 15. 2 Ekiti minors infected. Oyo records 1 more death. Kano records 2. NAS resumes today as reps consider 500 billion naira intervention fund proposal 2020 budget cut. At the top, we have here dollar scarcity pushing exchange rates to 500 naira to $1 on parallel market. We have not changed dates for Edo-Ondo election, says INEC. Lastly, we have no to IPPIS, ASU replies federal government. You can see that and more in Nigerian Tribune. Lastly, we have The Nation. Now, the headlines, we have Buhari ends lockdown in Lagos, Ogun, FCT on Monday. Bans non-essential interstate movement. Nationwide 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew from May 4th. What Nigerians should observe. Personal hygiene, social distancing, wearing of face mask. Restriction on religious and social gatherings. Praises health workers. Palliatives for fine-tuning. We also have, I would say, a photo story that gives clear analysis to the COVID-19 cases globally and in Nigeria. So you could pick up The Nation and get the best information on that. At the top of the paper, we have 30 cars burnt in Lagos fuel station fire. Buildings also affected. INEC, no plan to shift Edo-Ondo polls. Lastly, we have CBN lift suspension on check clearing, move for efficient payment. You can see these and more on The Nation. Well, now I'm sure all of us are trying in one way or the other to stay fit, but guess what? We will have a fitness segment right after this break.
This is the last leg. If I don't want to say hopefully, I just say we should find a way as we do it to manage the economy. But the major talk point from yesterday has to be the fire.
Yeah.
At College Road in Ogba. And you need to see the way the crowd came out. Like, there's a picture. Like that picture, so you know how when people see disaster, they want to come out and see what's happening.
But I don't understand why they're coming out instead of running back.
Like, man, you need to see the crowd. It was like a crusade.
Wow.
They were just there
people
like
were looking
this.
for an opportunity to just come outside.
It was, I'm telling you, and they saw it. And I feel like even at that, people could have still maybe, but it's like, not everybody's cautious about this thing. Like, you go to some place and you see some people like, okay, they want to keep their distance.
Yes,
and
like,
okay, hey, you stay. But this one, everybody was just
they didn't
doing
mind.
shoulder to shoulder. As in, like, everybody was just crammed up inside, just checking out, the place.
Fire. It doesn't make sense how there's fire and people are running to the fire.
I know, it's disaster now. So due to my journalistic instincts, I passed through I
Wow.
wanted to get
You were one of them.
on the spot. No, I wasn't there. When I was going to get on the spot assessment. So I went there much later, and I passing through, and you could see. Of course, the crowd had dissipated. There was nobody. It was free and all of that. But the damage was there's a free fuel tanker inside, and that fuel tanker had to be empty. It had to be empty. If it wasn't empty, the explosion
would have
here
been worse.
would have been on a Barab level. It was something else. It was so the tanker had even burned. It was empty. It had to be empty.
I hope there was nobody.
But I don't think so. From the way, so it was a building. You know those buildings, the mats behind the filling station. So that was where, and then it got into the next, the adjoining compound that had cars on sale. So that was where the issue was from. So it had cars on sale, and then said cars worth 50 million or so were destroyed and all of that. So
investment.
yeah, and then the tanker that was there. So definitely, yes, the tanker had already disposed of its contents. So that was why there was
Thank
no.
God
That was probably why there was no explosion. But by that evening, it had gone out. Definitely, I think fire service had gone there, and there was no crowd. But as at the point when it was happening, man, the crowd was just something else. And
let me guess, it's not like they came out with water to quench the fire.
how did? Or
Like
petrol station.
Oh, I don't
Water.
know. Water and soap.
Water. What will your water
Water
do?
and soap.
Well, I think by that time it happened. You know, it had calmed down. You know, it had calmed down. So, and if it was at that point, if it was at that point, you know, this, yeah. So by this time it had already calmed down, because at the point where it was raging, the heat was too much. You could not go close.
Oh, okay.
You definitely
so
could not go close. Yes, but it was by the time it had dissipated.
Whoosh,
that's when it came.
Fire.
You know, so
I don't understand. What are they doing there?
So, see, the point is that at this point in time, when we do relax the lockdown, people need to be careful. You need to still distance yourself.
You will run away from humans.
Like, this crowd is just too much, man, and people are shouting there.
I'm even confused. And then they're holding their phones like,
no, man, I confirm now. No, everybody's a journalist. No, that one, everybody's a journalist now. Everybody.
Next thing you see broadcasts, 500 people died because somebody just recorded a video.
As in,
that's
crazy. That's the thing. So everybody whips out their phone. Well, it's better than, well, I didn't want to say what is it's better than. But that's where we are as the world. It's not just here in Nigeria. Something happens and
instead of you helping the person, you want to, let me record or let them know that it's me that was there. I was the one. I took it. That's sad.
Okay.
If something like that happens, I'm taking cover. Like, I'm going to the other direction. There's no way I'm going to. Even journalistic skills, wait. Let me save my life.
I do like this.
Let me save my life.
You know that story about the journalist? And there was a fight in Oshodi and the journalist was reporting from Ikeja.
That'll be me.
See, I'm here in Ikeja.
I'm getting news now. Oh, okay. There's a fight.
But you're supposed to be in the line of duty, at the forefront when it's happening. So you give live reports.
I'll come back.
Don't you see your mentors, how they are? Those people that you look up to.
That's what I'm looking up to them. If I want to go and be on top of them, how will I look up to them?
No, you see, they say, continue doing what you're doing until your idols become your rivals.
Wow.
So that, you know that those days you wear your bulletproof and your helmet.
You see, Mike, right now, I look up to you so much.
I don't look up to
I need you to be at the forefront.
So
come and I'll interview you. I say, so I've looked up to you for so long. Please tell me how you did it.
You just come and you enter my shoes for one day.
No, I know.
So you come to the forefront.
My shoes, my size.
When there's fight, if there's anything happening, if it's 1 million boys, you are in front there.
Wow. Wow.
That is what it means to be a journalist. Dr. This is no jokes.
I'm so grateful that we have Mike. He's always going to be at the forefront. I'll be here. I'll be saying, so Mike, how is it going? How's it going? Yes, reporting live.
This is what we're talking about.
No way, man.
But be safe. Be safe. I don't. What we're making
it's for you to be safe. Like, put your life first.
True.
In a way, yeah. I feel like from the 4th of May, everybody's going to learn to be accountable to themselves.
Very true.
So from when you go out, you know that you and this coronavirus, people are going to be fighting each other. So it's more like if I go out today and I come back corona-free, it's because I took the necessary steps. And if you don't take the necessary steps, you shall bring it back to your house.
And you see something that has not been clearly, has not been stated as much as it should be is those that are asymptomatic.
Yes.
That means that there are people that they would have the virus and they will not show any symptoms. So forget that when somebody sneezes and coughs, hey, corona. There are people that have it, they will not show any single symptom. They will not get sick, they will not die, nothing will happen to them, but they can pass it.
Yes.
So the point is, think about it. If I don't think of people, but we have people like that.
Yes.
That are asymptomatic, and so it's not about. So for Lagos State, wear your masks out.
Yes.
We're on air. After this, I'm going out now. I have like a number of masks everywhere. Your car,
your hands,
at home, at this thing.
sanitizers.
I know a number of people are going into stylish masks and all of that.
Yeah.
I don't know how, and they are reusable. I don't know.
Yeah.
They are washing them.
Washing them.
I hope that it's safe. I've not heard any health personnel talk about how unsafe that might be, but hey, it's better than nothing. You
Yes.
understand? So just
and I also, another thing that's very important is to boost our immune systems. Like, good thing there are a lot of fruits out there now, so we should take as much vitamin C, fruits that are very strong in vitamin C, kiwi,
possible.
oranges, turmeric, ginger, apples. See, just pump your systems. Like, because now I saw something on Instagram, person said, the fight against COVID is your immune system versus COVID. So how strong is your immune system? What are you eating right now? What are you feeling
to
like?
a
Oh, let me
very
just be
large
eating.
extent. You know,
What are you eating?
there's this video I saw of the advancements Senegal has made.
Yes.
You know, when it comes to fighting COVID, they have the best recovery rate in Africa. You know, they have the lowest death rate, maybe even around the world, because they are still under 10.
Under 10.
It's still
wow.
under 10. They've developed test kits
Yes,
that
I
cost
saw that.
$1. That means like with 400, 500 naira,
Naira.
you can get a test kit.
That's so cool.
Then they went as far as also reproducing ventilators that are so much cheaper. I mean, a
Yes.
ventilator costs over $15,000.
Yes, and theirs
That's
is like
like
25,000 naira.
$15,000.
No, I'm saying that the ones they recreated.
Okay, the one they recreated,
like
even much
25,000
cheaper,
naira.
even much cheaper, and it was 3D printed, and they are, it's, you know, the results are showing.
Yeah.
People are recovering like, and so it's something. If this was pardon me, I don't want to sound
Like you're shading the government.
not shading the government. No, it's not about the government. I don't want to sound victimist or something. But if this was a country in Europe or something, some serious noise would have been made.
Yeah.
What is WHO doing? WHO, have you gone to check out that? I mean, imagine if testing kits be about $1. Imagine if this kind of thing is reproduced around the world. You know? So, I don't know, for what Senegal is doing, wonderful, great one, kudos to them. You've won this one. This is not Jollof that we are winning.
Jollof. In fact, you know what, we'll just hold
In
that.
fact, Jollof said you are still number one because
We'll
Jollof came from you.
We'll just hold Jollof because that's all we're giving us.
No.
Right
Senegal,
now.
they are the
We'll give them the
bring them.
title. They should
And
take
then
the
bring them.
title.
So kudos to what they are doing, and I think that something like this coming from Africa, it's a good thing. It's a big thing.
I would
That
have been
means that
happy if it came from Nigeria.
it doesn't matter. Well, yes, you know, but it means that we have the ability to get
Exactly.
things
If Senegal
right.
can do it, I'm not shading them, but if
Yeah.
Senegal, come on, we're the
Can do it.
giants. We're the giants.
Too many of us care what other people think much more than we should. You want to launch a project, you want to write a book, you want to tell a story, you want to wear a dress, you want to travel somewhere, you want to do the things that are dear to your heart, and you're wondering, what do my mother think, what do my brother think, what do my friend think? Some of you are so not okay that you even wonder what will my followers think on social media before you do what it is that you want to do. Yeah? And some of us never bother to ask, what do I think? Me, I know myself. I've been with myself for 25 years, 30 years, 28 years. I know myself more than anybody else. I know my strengths, I know my weaknesses, I know my passions, I know my purpose, I know what I do well, I know what I don't do well. I know where I've failed before, I know where I've succeeded before, I know what drains my energy, I know what keeps my energy up. I know myself more than anybody else. You know yourself more than anybody else. So why is it that when you want to launch something, the first thing you ask yourself is, what do other people think? Especially that person with 22 followers who hasn't even done anything for themselves. And even if they have 2 million followers, doesn't know you as well as you know you. How can another person's opinion about the work that you want to do be more important than your opinion about the work you want to do? We need to ask ourselves these questions. And it's so, now when I say it, it sounds so basic. But the truth is that there are so many of you, so many of us, who want to do things, but don't do them. Because the first thing that comes to our head is, what will critics think? I believe it's time to flip the question and start asking yourself, what do I think? Is this what I want to do? Will I succeed at what I want to do?
I've had friends, I've had people, I've had friends who, or I have friends who are in the industry, you know, and I think about it that there are times when they do stuff and I'm like, at least I've had my shot at acting, yeah, and it wasn't just school. Like if I was to,
in 1992.
if I was to talk about myself, that time talk was only just too, but I've looked at it and I know where see. So some people will have gone to that point and it's hard. There's always that thing between, you know, imagine if your friend was doing something and didn't do it well. You want to encourage the person, but at the same time,
You tell them the truth.
you tell them the truth, right?
Yeah.
You're not trying to lie. You have to tell them, you know what,
Yeah.
you know, people have different ways to react to stuff.
True.
So you have to be wise about it. But I am not for, oh, you are the best in the world when you're doing crap. You could be. You have the ability to, but not when, you know, you're doing crap and I dare give you that, oh, you are number one. Nobody like you. No. You could be there. But then, hey, let's work out something. This is how you could get from where you are to where you want to be. So that's how I feel about Nollywood sometimes.
Oh, well, I'm sure Nollywood is definitely going to get to where you want it to be and exceed it. Well, let's move on with the news. The global confirmed coronavirus cases have surpassed 3 million, with death toll now more than 208,000. Almost 900,000 persons have recovered so far. And as the number of cases increase in the US, the UK and in Africa, some countries like Australia, New Zealand, Iran and Spain are moving to ease coronavirus lockdown as daily infections and deaths slow. Italy has announced it will ease its 2-month-old controls from the 4th of May, but the United Nations has warned that countries flouting the rule of law in the name of fighting the novel coronavirus pandemic risk sparking a human rights disaster. Now here in Nigeria, the national leader of the All Progressives Congress, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and wife, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, have both tested negative for COVID-19. This followed the death of the national leader's chief security officer, Lateef Rahim, last week. In a statement released by Tunde Rahman of the Tinubu Media Office, the tests were taken on Saturday and results for both Asiwaju and Senator Tinubu were negative. In the statement, which I quote from, Asiwaju stressed that openness and transparency must be observed if we are to defeat this disease. There is no house immune to its entry. Contracting the virus should not bring social or moral stigma any more than contracting malaria or a common cold. End of quote. The police in Zamfara State say the illegal miners apprehended in the state will be transferred to Abuja for further prosecution. Commissioner of Police there, Usman Nagogo, stated this after the Chinese were discovered with links to the illegal activity. Apprehended among them is a Nigerian lady who they say has been their cook.
Fuzzling us was the fact that the federal government has banned all mining activities since 2016 in Zamfara. So we are not expecting to see even a Nigeria engaging in gold activities, and not to talk about even a Chinese national. But you are living witness. The Chinese personnel are here and they are engaged very much in that illegal mining. From here we'll transfer them to Abuja. In Abuja we will make necessary decisions and our own stop at.
The Commissioner of Police in Edo State, Lawan Jimita, has denied its command's involvement in the alleged raiding of the residence of the former Chief of Staff to Edo State Governor Taiwo Akerele. He also denied reports making the round in social media that the personal assistant to the former Chief of Staff to Edo State Governor Jasper Oluwajoba was arrested by officers and men of the command during a raid. The former Chief of Staff Taiwo Akerele resigned his appointment on Friday, while Governor Godwin Obaseki has since appointed Osaze Uzamere as his replacement.
As we are concerned, the State Police Command does not know anything about any incident because it is not recorded. all the DPOs in the metropolis have not reported any incident like that. Even the resignation, we just read it on social media. So I think that's the only thing I know about that.
Welcome back. Now we will be going through the front pages of the papers this morning. Today's Tuesday, the 28th day of April, and we're starting with The Nation. Buhari ends lockdown in Lagos, Ogun, FCT starting on Monday, 4th of May. Bans non-essential interstate movement, nationwide 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew from 4th of May. What Nigerians should observe: personal hygiene, social distancing, wearing of face mask. Restriction on religious and social gatherings, praises health workers, palliatives for fine-tuning. There's a photo story here which shows a medical official taking samples from Asiwaju Bola Tinubu for the COVID-19 test over the weekend. Tinubu wife tests negative. Tinubu and wife test negative. There's also a photo story here giving clear analysis on the global cases and number of deaths as well. You can read The Nation to get your correct information. Moving to the top of the paper, we have 30 cars burnt in Lagos fuel station fire. Buildings also affected. INEC, no plan to shift Edo-Ondo polls. You can see that on page 3. Finally, we have CBN lifts suspension on check clearing, move for efficient payments. That and more on The Nation. Next up, we have The Punch. Now, the headline says, Buhari declares interstate lockdown as nationwide curfew begins Monday. Shuts down Kano for 2 weeks. OK's extension in Lagos, Ogun, and the FCT. Lockdown will fail without effective testing, warns from Jonathan. Let my father rest in peace, Abba Kyari's daughter tells critics. Photo story here showing fire guts Lagos NNPC station, 30 cars and buildings. You can see that and more on pages 4 and 5. Dar Communication chairman tests positive for COVID-19. Kenny Martin's 7.7 billion naira alleged fraud case gets a fresh date. My CSO died of coronavirus, declares Tinubu. 18 arrested prostitutes isolated. Brothel shot in Ondo. Controversy as NBA disowns Lagos lawyer critic. Ekiti commissioners' abductors demand 30 million naira. This is from family source. At the top of the paper, we have be ready to pay higher for fuel, PPPRA. We distributed NAFDAC certified rice, federal government tells states. IMF may approve Nigeria's $3.4 billion loan today. You can see this and more on the Punch newspaper. Moving on to Nigerian Tribune. We have Buhari orders nationwide curfew from May 4th. OK's phased easing of lockdown in FCT, Lagos and Ogun State, says use of face mask is now compulsory, directs immediate shutdown of Kano State. Interstate passenger travels banned indefinitely, restriction on social religious gatherings still in place. A photo story here showing the traffic at the entrance of the Oyo State Secretariat Ibadan as workers on grade level 13 and above resumed work on Monday. Polaris Bank posts 28 billion naira PBT in first full financial year operation. Atiku's son tests negative for COVID-19 after 40 days in isolation. NCDC begins contact tracing as Tinubu's late CSO. Another aide tests positive for COVID-19. Ex-governor's wife tests negative. Lagos discharges 15. 2 Ekiti minors infected. Oyo records 1 more death. Kano records 2. Lastly, finally on the Nigerian Tribune, we have NAS resumes today as reps consider 500 billion naira intervention fund proposal 2020 budget cut. And that's it on Nigerian Tribune. We still have time for Daily Trust, and the headline says, Buhari allows 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. movements in states. extends lockdown in Federal Capital Territory, Lagos, Ogun State to May 4th. Locks down Kano for 2 weeks, partial interstate travels, signs proclamation order, NLC Doctors Afenifere speaks. A photo story here showing security men trying to maintain orderliness during the distribution of FCT COVID-19 palliatives to residents of the area at the Government Day Secondary School in Dutsin Alaji, Abuja yesterday. Shehu of Bama dies at 63, PPPRA parlays CBN on forex support for oil marketers. Kaduna, 5 Almajiri repatriated from Kano test positive. COVID-19 tests below 1% as status of 199 million Nigerians remain unknown. Federal government warns states against competing over figures. Lastly, we have day 5, Ramadan timings for Abuja. You can see that and more on Daily Trust newspaper today. Well, that's it on the headlines, the headlines of the papers this morning.
The Medical Director of Dermacare Medical Aesthetics and your skin doctor of choice. I'm here to answer some questions. Someone asked about how to take care of her skin after stopping bleaching products, which she wants to stop using very soon and to make sure she doesn't have adverse reactions. Now, they think about the use of bleaching products. Well, we prescribe them medically to help correct pigmentation problems. But the truth is, using these products are less than safe. A lot of people tend to use what we call those prescription tube ointments that rapidly lighten their skin, and also use products with trending buzzwords, carrot, lemon, all sorts of glow creams. But the unfortunate downside is that many of them end up damaging their skin. These, like the ointments in particular, which are steroids, thin the skin and affect the integrity of the skin, so that the skin becomes really fragile, and it can't even hold sutures if emergency surgery is required, for instance. Then you notice that you could see a network of veins. You see them popping. Some people see it as a sign of beauty, but it's just a sign of the fact that in addition to the skin being thinned out, the vessels are damaged. Now, the sad thing is these products, everything you put on your skin is absorbed through the bloodstream into your vital organs. So it could damage your kidneys, your liver, your bone marrow, your heart. Just about every organ in your body is affected. So you should think twice before you use products. There are lots of products out there. We have people who create natural, all natural, organic, what else? Special glow creams, everything to make you look your best. And I've seen patients who've used those products who have developed within a few days massive breakouts, because some of these homemade products are made in the most unsanitary conditions. They contain rat droppings, cockroach droppings, you name it. So they develop massive breakouts, and some of them also get burnt because they add products, ingredients like hair relaxers, household bleach, which is very popular now for keeping us clean during this crisis we're facing. And I mean, just about anything is put into these products. The downside here is that these products will sometimes permanently damage the skin, and there's not much we can do to rescue skin when it's gone beyond a particular stage. But if you're planning to stop, I want to advise you, because one thing is that a lot of people notice that they become much darker than they were before they started using the creams. And this is for a simple fact. When you use these creams, what they do is that they inhibit melanin production in your melanin-producing cells, which are responsible for our color, right? So that inhibition, these cells have been suppressed for so long. So once you stop that inhibition, they go into overdrive and produce so much melanin that you become darker. Many people are afraid when they see this, so they go back to using the lightening creams. So I want to appeal to you, if you really want to stop, you know that this is something to expect. So it'll eventually balance out and your skin will go back to its natural complexion. And once you've gotten your skin back, of course, during the process while you're waiting, you'll be nourishing your skin with very good products that will help to heal the damage that was created in the first place. So don't despair if you want to stop, because it is so important to have healthy skin as opposed to changing the color of your skin. And that's one thing, that I advise most people. Now you go into shops, you see loads of creams, you see, it's just so interesting. And the kind of names that are used, you see carrot, lemon, glutathione cream, so anything to attract the potential buyers. So taking vitamin supplements will also help when you're, say, weaning yourself off these products. If you're somebody who doesn't take products for your skin already, it's important, vitamins, it's important to take vitamins regularly anyway. So this will help with that transition process. Now, hopefully, your kidneys wouldn't have failed by this time, because I've seen patients who've had kidney failure as a result of steroid abuse over several years. Now, take care of your skin, because it's your best asset. And I want you to focus on healthy skin as opposed to the color of your skin. I hope this helps you in making your decisions. Thanks for listening.
Okay. All right. We have Yeti Williams of Lagos Moms. She is a certified parenting coach and a neuro-linguistic practitioner too. Now for parenting this morning, she has joined us via Skype to talk about the pros and the cons of online and offline education for children. Hello, Yeti Williams.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
We're doing great, thanks. And yourself?
Okay, I am good. I am good. How's you been holding up? We have one more week of lockdown.
Yes, it is. Another week.
All right, good. So, yeah, today we're talking the pros and cons of online and offline education for kids, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let's get straight to it. We are in the period where there's a lot that has been done online. Let's start with that. What are the pros and cons? What are the advantages and disadvantages of has been done online? Let's start with that. What are the pros and cons? What are the advantages and disadvantages of online education?
Okay, great. So, a fair number of schools have resumed their third term with online classes, while there are some that haven't resumed, especially public schools, they haven't resumed yet. So the pros of online learning is the fact that, at least learning can continue in some capacity, and it reduces having children idle. So those are the advantages. Kids can continue to learn, they can continue to engage with their classmates and their teachers, and academic learning is continuing. So those are the clear advantages.
Okay, but now we're talking about balancing it, right? Offline and online. How do you balance it in periods like this, of course, and after this lockdown and all of that? How do you balance it online and offline?
Offline, exactly. So I guess, one of the biggest things to keep in mind is that screen time needs to be monitored for children. Prior to COVID and post-COVID, there's a right amount of time children should spend online. So even with the online learning, it's not ideal. It's not the ideal situation for children to be on their computers from 8 a.m. to maybe 2 p.m. learning online all through the day. That's a lot of screen time. So, a lot of the schools that are offering online lessons must realize that they have to break it up. They can't just have a child in front of the computer all day. So they must break up in between maybe lessons, give them breaks, let them do some offline activities as well, such as read a book or, work on worksheets on their own, write a story. There's so many things children can be taught without having to sit in front of a screen. So that balance is very important. And I think there's a lot more children can do offline than a lot of us realize. It just takes some flexibility and some creativity, but our children can also be engaged offline as well. And they actually must also be engaged offline, because we don't want to have the negative side of too much screen time after this whole period is over.
Now, exactly, you mentioned something, of course. A lot of online and virtual learning has to do with the screen, so screen time. And then even a lot of children, when they are maybe playing around or having fun, they also spend time on the screen. They're either playing games or watching a movie and all of that. So there is just so much screen time put across. And a number of parents use that maybe because they don't want the kids to disturb them and all of that. How do you balance it in a case whereby parents says, look, I just want to keep the kids on the screen so that I can have some rest and all of that. If I engage them in offline activities, I'll get tired. A number of parents have these concerns. How do you address these concerns?
Yes, you're right. Screen time has been known to be used as a babysitter because indeed, it helps you get other things done, and your children seemingly are not disturbing you when you say, what, just go and use your screen time. But it's even more dangerous right now because if a child is doing online learning from about 8 to 2 p.m. or so, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., then in the evening again, you tell them so that they don't disturb you, go and use screen time. So a child can be using anywhere from 6 to 10 hours a day on screen time. It is not advisable. Medically too, it is not advisable because these things become very addictive. And when your child is addicted to screen times, especially when they are consuming junk online, so they are doing things that are giving them the hormones that want them to continue to play games, or they are on social media and they get a particular good feeling every time somebody likes their photo or engages with them. You're causing a dependency on screen time if your children are on it too long. So honestly, parenting has never been an easy job. We don't do it because it's easy. Now it's even more challenging than ever before, but it doesn't mean that we need to then get rid of all the guidelines that are necessary for our children's healthy development. So honestly, I keep going back to, we have to be creative, play board games, talk about stories of your childhood. Right now, one thing we have on our hands is time. So talk to your children. So many of us don't have this time to talk to children and communicate because we're so busy with the hustle, going to work, coming home. Now, all of that has been taken away, whether or not we like it. That's the situation we're in. So I would rather encourage parents to use this time to really teach your children other life skills that's not purely academic.
Now, apart from this also, this is something that happens in schools, especially with younger kids also. When they go to school also, I've seen that younger kids are also, screen time is also used to, to get them to calm down, to get them to sit down, to get them to calm down and all that. And of course, you have mentioned the case of, getting to know those kids and all of that, engaging in board games and all of that. But like I still mentioned earlier and all of that, if you cannot, you said, you've made mention about being creative. If it's something that you want to, from experience, is there anything that practically, that these parents can do that maybe, let's give them the benefit of doubt for those that don't want to be involved? Are you saying that they have to be involved with the kids themselves physically before they can engage them offline?
Okay. The line cut out a little bit, but I think if I heard you correctly, are you saying how can we practically engage our children in offline activities?
Yes, practically engage them in offline activities without. So you've mentioned about the parents being there, playing board games together with them. What if the parent also still wants to do something else and still have the kids engaged offline?
Okay. So, offline activities, I think one of the easiest ways to help with this is to realize that offline activities requires something that doesn't have to do with a screen. So not television, not their tablets, not their laptop, not their smartphones. Offline meaning they're reading a physical book, for example. They're going outside to spend time in the, we've talked about this on some of the earlier episodes, that it's really important to have a schedule for your child and your family at this time. And that schedule should include some of the online activities they would want to do, which is fine, but also they need to do some things offline. And you as a parent have to be the one to enforce that. So you can make sure that every day they're getting some sunlight, they're getting some activity, some physical activity in. So they must be doing some exercise. Now, you can allow them to do exercise on screen time, even if they are watching screen time. This is quality. They are exercising, they are following somebody's routine online. So that's fine. But they must read physical books. Let them write reports for you. Tell them to read a book and summarize the book and tell you what they learned from it. Let them read the newspapers if they can. So I just think there's so many ways that as a parent, depending on your family setup, you can allow them to do other things. Go and bring out old albums. We did that recently. I brought out old albums, and they were looking through that, and we're having discussions about who that was, when that was, how old was I, and that would build up, and would have story time as well, because I'll be sharing stories, their dad will be sharing stories. Before you know it, 1 hour has gone, So I think it's just because I have it very deep in my subconscious that the children cannot be on screen all the time. I make sure that I'm watching them, and if I think they've been on for a little bit too long, maybe after 2-3 hours or so, I go and ask for a break. I'm like, let's do something else that doesn't have to do with screen time, so that the children themselves get used to being able to regulate themselves. And they themselves know, I've been on this for a while. It's time for me to get off and do something else.
Thank you
They
very
can
much,
clean their
Williams.
rooms.
Thank you.
They can tidy their clothes. They should do chores. There's so much to fill the day with.
I like what you just said, giving them assignments that you can check on at them at different times. That is very practical. Thank you very much, Yeti Williams. It was a pleasure talking to you this morning. All right, so yeah, that's it. I hope you're able to pick 1 or 2 tips there to help the kids while you are finding your way during this lockdown. We'll take a break now, but there's still more to come when we get back. Thank you for staying with us. Ajuri Ngelale is the Senior Special Assistant to President Muhammadu Buhari on Public Affairs. Now he joins us this morning to talk about the economical stimulus plan put together by the federal government, and of course we'll touch on the President's speech from last night. Hello Ajuri, good morning.
Good morning to you, my brother.
How are you doing this morning, in spite of the lockdown and all of that?
Well, certainly we're doing our very best to keep safe and also make sure that we're doing our part to ensure that the responses across the board, whether it's public health or communications or the economic response, are very much intact.
All right. Wonderful. Now, in the aftermath of COVID-19, we've seen that the economy has taken a big hit. Now, but you are a member of the economic stimulus plan. Can you let us know what that plan entails in its entirety in as short time as possible?
Well, look, there's a multifarious set of responses. First of all, we've been telling our people, about how, of course, that there's a great opportunity that exists in a crisis. But I want to be very clear about what we mean by that. We are in a situation right now. If you look at the global economy before COVID-19, global supply chains either began or ended in China. And what that has meant is that when productivity and manufacturing and all of these other economic activities essentially shut down in China, you had the reverberating impact across the global economy. And so now I think you're having wealthy industrialized nations, particularly in the West, now saying, look, we can't put all of our eggs in the Chinese basket in case the basket tips over. So we need to now diversify into potentially other new manufacturing and production hubs. And that's where Nigeria can come in, because obviously we already have a ready-made massive market. We have a massive pool of educated citizens. We have a massive pool of uneducated but skilled labor that is affordable labor. So right now, what we have to do is we now have to deepen very, very quickly our soft and hard infrastructural development. Obviously, in terms of soft infrastructure, you're talking about the kinds of regulatory reforms that this administration has already been putting in place, which has seen us skyrocket up the charts in terms of the World Bank's ease of doing business reforms. Now we're also going to deepen our investments in the hard infrastructure, the roads, bridges, airports, seaports, to ensure that we can bring down the cost of production for industries and factories and organizations that are going to be coming into Nigeria as a result of some of the realignments that are taking place in the global economy. So for us, the Economic Sustainability Committee was put in place by President Muhammadu Buhari. It is chaired by Vice President Professor Jim Iyke. And what you're now seeing is across board, from the Ministry of Education to aviation to transportation to health, trade and investment, works and humanitarian affairs, disaster management, and social development. Across the board, you're having ministries come in and they're basically bringing in their programs and activities that essentially have to do with the highest amount of job creation potential possible. so that we can target those programs and projects that will create the most amount of jobs, and we can fund and implement those projects simultaneously in a manner that will get the maximum amount of jobs created in the shortest amount of time to provide the kind of economic stimulus that is required now. And I just want to add very quickly that the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning has already come out to announce the President's Special Public Works Program, which is going to take 1,000 young Nigerians from every single local government area of the Federation. That's 774,000 young people that are going to be working on things like social housing construction, urban and rural sanitation, road rehabilitation, irrigation construction, tree planting, amongst many others. So this is a very, very comprehensive set of economic responses. And when that process is completed and approvals are made by President Muhammadu Buhari, certainly those details will be made public for everybody to know and key into.
Okay, Ajuri, wonderful. Now, this is all nice talking about it, but to the common man, at what stage are we in the implementation of this this stimulus plan? At what stage are we? How long will it take to get to the point where we can say that it has fully, been implemented?
Well, I think it's multifarious, right? It's multifaceted. You have obviously the side of the executive and what we're working on in terms of the finances, right? Making sure that the financial side, we have a plan in place that we can immediately implement. But already on the monetary side, which should be noted, the CBN has already announced and has begun disbursements on a major set of interventions that will directly impact micro, small, and medium-scale and large-scale enterprises across the country, in addition to households, with the 50 billion naira credit facility for households, small, micro, and medium-scale enterprises, in addition to a 1.1 trillion naira facility that's going to be for very critical sectors that have been hit by COVID-19. That's, obviously agriculture, oil and gas, transportation, aviation, tourism, hospitality, aviation, and the like. So all of that has already begun in terms of the disbursements.
Okay, now, Ajuri, please. Yeah. You mentioned something. You said it has begun. Now, I know a number of people who are saying that they don't qualify, while a number of people are also saying that they don't know the requirements or, should I say, what is required from them to be eligible for this stimulus, package when it comes to small businesses. Can you tell us a bit about that? What are the requirements?
Yes,
what is
sure. So what you have, CBN has used the Nursal Microfinance Bank as kind of the loaner institution to get the funds across as the vehicle. Now, we have to put out a form. It's even on my Twitter account. It's pretty much it's been widely disseminated. That's very clear-cut. Anybody who's operating any kind of a small or micro or medium-scale enterprise can easily key into it. You just have to put in your information. You can be eligible to receive the disbursement. I think it's a very straightforward thing. But for us, I think one of the challenges that we have had in terms of the response has been some individuals have said, look, I'm not looking for a facility for my business. I'm more concerned about the direct palliatives, which is why we're working very hard right now. And the president alluded to it in his address of addressing two major segments, right? You have the urban poor and you have the rural poor. The rural poor being those individuals who are in, far-flung communities that, may not have access, for example, to traditional banking institutions. They're not banked. They don't have BVNs, for example. And then you have the urban poor, those individuals who you see on the streets, hawking various goods, and providing some services on the roads at a time when the economy is buzzing as normal. But during the lockdown, they don't have access to those opportunities, which means they're having difficulty even feeding. So for the urban poor, what we've done is through the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, we've been able to now work very closely with the telecoms companies through the NCC, the regulator, as well as deposit money banks by use of BVN to now determine who are those individuals who have less than 5,000 naira in their account consistently over the course of the last 4 months. And who are those individuals who consistently top up their credit on their phones with less than 100 naira? So some people are doing 20 naira at a time, 30 naira at a time. These are the people that we're targeting. Based on that data, we're able to determine who it is that we're going to be able to give digitalized payments to directly into their bank accounts from source. We're working very hard on that. We're getting towards the conclusion of that. And at the end of that process, we're going to ensure that we hit as many households. We're talking of tens of millions of households that we're going to be hitting with these digital payments. But we have to do it in a manner that ensures that we do not, hit 2 or 3 people in one household, and then we don't get to reach other households who don't have anybody inside. So for us, we have to make sure that we do only one person per household, and that's why you're seeing the kind of tremendous scrutiny and then kind of logistical kind of groundwork before we begin those payments.
Yes, wonderful. You just said something now, and this is the part that a lot of people don't or did not get. You said if you maintained a balance of below 5,000 in your account for 4 months prior to this time, right?
That's correct.
For 4 months prior to this time, that is when you are eligible for the digital payment into your account.
That's correct. So we have to ensure that you don't have a situation where somebody who has 100,000 in their account just withdraws it, and then because of that, you now have a snapshot of somebody who has 0 in their account when in fact there's a history. So we're assessing the history, but not just of the recharges on their phones, but also of their bank accounts to know who truly has been in this cater that we're really trying to make cater to over a period of time.
Okay. So, but we've already it has already started being disbursed to them, right? They've already started receiving it.
No, the digital payments. Right now, we're in the kind of the final stages, if you will, of making sure that we have a kind of all the the work done, the logistics done, so that by the time we get the payments out, you don't have a situation where you're paying 2 people in the same household, or you're paying people that shouldn't be paid, and all of that. We're making sure that we get it right.
All right, thank you very much, Ajuri. It's quite reassuring. Let's hope that you get that sorted out as soon as possible, and people start getting those palliatives and payments into their accounts. Thank you very much, Ajuri.
Let me also just note very quickly before I go that what we're doing for the rural poor is completely separate. You know, the president directed the expansion of the National Social Register from 2.6 million households, which is about 11 million Nigerians, to about 3.6 million households, which is between 14 and 15 million Nigerians. These are for the rural poor. These are those palliatives that will be able to go directly to them, whether in the form of food relief packages or whether in the form of physical cash, because many of these individuals are unbanked in our rural communities. So these are some of that's kind of the other cater that we're targeting as well, and I think that should be well known. All
right, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Let's hope that we get these things out as soon as possible, and well done. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right, so Val was the Senior Special Advisor to the President on Public Affairs, and I hope you're able to pick 1 or 2 things there. We'll just take this short break. There's still the final lap to go on the show. You don't want to miss it.
Well, I hope you have received that special splash of vitamin D on the show this morning.
Definitely. We are that show that gives a splash of sunshine to brighten your day. And there's a question I want to ask to you out there personally. What does body count mean to you? Right? Let us know on social media at TVC Connect, on Facebook and Twitter. I would definitely respond to some of them. What does body count mean to you?
Yes, please. We're in the middle of an argument here.
When you like during elections, body count is the number of people that came to
don't just ask them what it means.
What
it means. Don't sugarcoat it. Use the hashtag #WakeUpNigeria on TVC. Let us know when you hear body count. What does it mean to you? It's 45 minutes left for us to spend with you. Let's make it count, shall we, Mike?
Yeah, definitely. My name is Mike Mesekeno.
And I am Tokwe Olonia. Streaming us live at tvcentertainment.tv and on Facebook at TVC Connect.
You can also send in your comments. Use the hashtag, like we said, WakeUpNigeria on TVC.
Now, if you haven't downloaded the app, Android, iOS, what are you waiting for, really? Now, you know, this allows you to watch us from anywhere in the world and getting ready to start watching us from space too.
Of course, and while you're watching us, I'm getting ready to dish something really tasty. You understand? So, this is Chef Mike, right? Chef Mike. I'm going to be the chef element.
Oh, wow.
You understand? That's water, there's boiled potatoes, I'll add salt, of course, strain water and set potato aside. I'll add ground ginger.
You will add.
And then, of course, there's
Sprinkle
thyme.
some thyme.
Yeah. And then,
And
of
just give
course,
us a
you have some
little-
salt.
You said it before.
Oh,
No, you said salt
wow.
before.
And then, a teaspoon of butter. Cinnamon powder. And voila, egg yolk.
It's one.
I'm going to put some oil. Will come later on. After mashing the potatoes, some oil later. Really follow Jim Iyke. Lots through his career. Like, it's going to be hard to think that Jim Iyke might not do some of these things at home. I'm serious.
Yeah.
It's affective fallacy. It happens. It's part of the arts and all of that. It's, you know, so yeah, I don't know.
And then it's also called typecast. So when you play a role and you do it so well, and another producer wants to do it, we'll just call Jim Iyke now. He did that role well. And then you see he keeps doing the same role. They just look that. Wow.
Okay. So yeah, a few things I want to mention. Something happened to me was it yesterday or so?
Okay.
I was getting to my estate and I saw 3 girls just between the ages of maybe say 7 to 10 or so.
Okay.
And they're hawkers, you know, street hawkers and all of that. And I saw their trays in front of them, and they were sitting down. And I called them. I was like, "Why?" This was about 9 o'clock. Why are you guys? Yes, 9 p.m. Why are you guys outside this lady? Said, "Oh, they misplaced 450 naira, and they couldn't go back home. They were trying to search for the money. You know, it was quite late." And I was like, "Okay, there's no need trying to find out if it's true or if it's not true and all of that." I just got out the money and gave to them a little bit extra. And the way those girls jumped up, they were happy.
Aww.
And so, yeah, where are you going to? Yeah, start going.
Going.
And, you know, a lot of things came to mind, like, what we get to a point, how could kids be so afraid of going home that late because they misplaced some money?
450 naira.
And then people now start giving the experiences that, look, it's bad. That some parents, or some wards, some guardians, will beat those kids.
Yes.
That some people told me that they've experienced it themselves personally. I think that's something that, you know, I don't know how we can address it.
You should be thankful that they even collected help from you. I read on Twitter, there was this guy that was traveling, and then this lady, I think she was selling granules or so, and then someone mistakenly hit her and everything poured. And she was wailing, and he asked her what happened, and then she said everything cost 1,000 naira. And he moved 1,000 naira and gave her, and she started screaming, crying that he wants to take her destiny, he wants to take her glory. And guess what? Passers were looking at him like, destiny taker.
Destiny taker.
As in destiny
destiny stealer.
So at least those children even took the help from you. Some people wouldn't.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's another angle. Okay.
Parents and ward need to take things easy. But moving on to the news. Now, the global confirmed coronavirus cases have surpassed 3 million, with the death toll now more than 208,000. Almost 900 persons have recovered so far. And as the number of cases increase in the US, the UK, and in Africa, some countries like Australia, New Zealand, Iran, and Spain are moving to ease coronavirus lockdowns as daily infections and deaths slow. Italy has announced it will ease its 2-month-old controls from the 4th of May, but the United Nations has warned that countries flouting the rule of law in the name of fighting the novel coronavirus pandemic risks sparking a human rights disaster. The World Health Organization also says there are concerns about increasing trends in Africa, Eastern Europe, Latin America, and parts of Asia. More than 56,000 people have died in the United States, representing more than a quarter of all death worldwide. Back here in Nigeria, the national leader of the All Progressive Congress, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and wife, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, have both tested negative for COVID-19. This followed the death of the national leader's chief security officer, Lateef Rahim, last week. In a statement released by Tunde Rahman of the Tinubu Media Office, the tests were taken on Saturday, and results for both Asiwaju and Senator Tinubu were negative. In the statement, which I quote from, Asiwaju stressed that openness and transparency must be observed if we are to defeat this disease. There is no house immune to its entry. Contracting the virus should not bring social or moral stigma any more than contracting malaria or a common cold. End of quote. The police in Zamfara State says the illegal miners apprehended in the state will be transferred to Abuja for further persecution. Commissioner of Police there, Usman Nagogo, stated this after the Chinese were discovered with links to the illegal activity. Apprehended among them is a Nigerian lady who they say has been their cook.
Fuzzling us was the fact that the federal government has banned all mining activities since 2016 in Zamfara. So we are not expecting to see even a Nigeria engaging in gold activities, and not to talk about even a Chinese national. But you are living witness. The Chinese personnel are here, and they are engaged very much in that illegal mining. From here, we'll transfer them to Abuja. In Abuja, we will make necessary decisions and our own stop at.
The Commissioner of Police in Edo State, Lawan Jim Iyke, has denied his command's involvement in the alleged raiding of the residence of the former Chief of Staff of Edo State, Governor Taiwo Akerele. He also denied reports making the round in social media that the personal assistant to the former Chief of Staff to Edo State Governor, Jasper Oluwajoba, was arrested by officers and men of the command during a raid. The former Chief of Staff, Taiwo Akerele, resigned his appointment on Friday, while Governor Godwin Obaseki has since appointed Osaze Uzamere as his replacement.
As we are concerned, the State Police Command does not know anything about any incident because it is not recorded. All the DPOs in the metropolis have not reported any incident like that. Even the resignation, we just read it on social media. So I think that's the only thing I know about that.
Well, that's it on the news for today. Wake Up Nigeria continues.
Today we'll be preparing tule kwakit potato served with breaded sausage. Hope you get to learn one or two things in this video. Thank you.
Okay, Ekemini Phillips is an expert in the field of food and nutrition, and she derives pleasure in guiding people on what to eat to attain optimal health. Now, she's with us via Skype this morning to discuss healthy eating during the Ramadan fast. Hi, Ekemini Phillips. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
How you doing?
Fine, thank you. And you?
Very well, thank you. How's the lockdown treating you?
Very well. You're everything all rolled into one. Mommy, teacher.
Yeah.
And they're all rolled into one.
Oh,
okay.
Wow. Have your children started online schooling or they aren't doing that?
No, they're starting on Friday, May 1st.
Oh, okay, okay, great. So let's delve into the topic for today. Now, healthy eating during the Ramadan period. Now, how can that be achieved?
Okay, so basically, I'm going to be talking today about the nutritional considerations you should focus on during fasting.
Okay.
Like general fasting. I'm not going to be specific to Ramadan, so every other person that is embarking on fasting for various reasons can also benefit.
All right. All
Yeah.
right. Okay, so what should we look at for general fasting? Because you know, by the time you want to break your fast, you're already weak. So if we're going to have to take some nutritional steps, what are we looking at?
Okay, so it's important for you to be deliberate and intentional about the way and the manner in which you break the fast.
Okay.
Because we know you're trying to replenish the lost fluids and the lost calories that you have lost during those periods of restricted food intake.
Yeah.
So first things first, always break your fast with a drink of water. Okay. Now, this is to prepare your body to receive the food that is going to come in some moments or minutes later. Okay. Always break with an intake of water. Followed by fluids. It can be yogurt, it can be puddings, it can be kefir, it can be broth, it can be soups, it can be stock. Okay. Now, people make soups in different ways. In the Nigerian setting, it can be a light pepper soup, or it can be soup with all manner of culinary herbs inside, the turmeric and garlic and oregano and all of that. Yeah. And then after that, you can now move into fruits. Okay. We can take dried fruits, fresh fruits, dates, seasonal fruits, dried fruits such as apricots, dates, figs, cranberries, prunes, raisins. Now, these fruits are high in natural sugars, which gives you that instant energy boost that you need because we know you're already weak at that time. Yeah. So and they're also rich in minerals, manganese, magnesium, potassium, and a lot of antioxidants. After taking your fruit in whatever forms, fresh, smoothies or dried, then you can now move into the main meal. When you're taking the main meal, please, it is important for you to keep in mind that this meal has to be balanced. It has to be rich in all your micronutrients and your macronutrients, your carbohydrates, your proteins. The meal has to be high fiber. It has to be whole grain. Yeah. It has to be made of legumes that are prepared properly, your lentils, your beans, your chickpeas. There has to be veggies in there because we need fiber in it to keep the bowels moving. Okay. And after taking the main meal, you rest for a period of maybe 1 or 2 hours. If it is something you can do, please get involved in some form of light exercises, taking strolls, walking around, doing stretches, yoga, deep breath. It will help to keep things moving and it will help in digestion as well. Another thing I forgot to mention while eating is important for you to take your time to chew your food. Yeah. Now, you're doing this because of 2 reasons. When you chew your food properly and slowly, you're helping to start digestion in a good way because digestion actually starts in the mouth. So as you're breaking down the food into smaller particles, the food is actually mixing with the saliva and the enzymes are beginning to act on the food. The digestive enzymes are beginning to act on the food before the food passes into the digestion tract and the main digestion takes place. And also you chew your food slowly because it actually takes an approximate of 20 minutes for your brain cells to register that you're full. So when you eat slowly and you're giving your brain enough time to register, oh, am I full or not? Should I continue? Yeah. And remember that you don't have to really feel full before you stop. Okay. Remember to keep space for water and for a light snack after. Now, that brings me to the place of really feel full before you stop. Okay. Remember to keep space for water and for a light snack after. Now, that brings me to the place of snacking. You have to be intentional and deliberate about healthy snacking. Yeah. Most times, people confuse snacking with taking a treat. A snack is not a treat. A treat is not a snack. A snack is a small amount of food eaten in between meals that has the potential to nourish your body. Okay. So anything that is small in quantity that can nourish your body is a snack. A veggie stick can be a snack. Pieces of fresh fruits or dried fruits can be a snack. Yeah. Dipped in nut butters, dipped in mayo, dipped in olive oil can be a snack. Pieces of chicken can be a snack. And when fasting, please, let's try to eat foods that are very, very low in fat because it will make you a bit weak and try to drain the energy from you. So it's good to eat high fiber foods, whole grains, foods with the bran intact. Brown rice is fantastic. Quinoa is fantastic. Fonio grains is fantastic.
Yeah.
Overnight oats, soaked overnight can be eaten if it's the Muslims that eat early in the morning, you can take that. But if it's people that don't eat in the morning and have to break in the night, oats is actually fantastic. Fonio is fantastic. Brown rice is fantastic. Now, make sure that all the classes of food are being incorporated into that meal.
Okay.
I cannot overemphasize enough on the need to plan and to prepare ahead. Now, when you plan, you're planning to succeed. Now, planning can involve making a meal plan, drawing up a meal plan. Okay, I'm going to break by 6. This is what I'm going to take when I break. And also planning can involve batch cooking. So because you're fasting, you'll not be able to start cooking when you stop fasting.
Yeah.
So you can batch cook ahead of time, store in your freezer. You can make whole grain waffles, nutrient-dense pancakes, healthy muffins. You can batch cook a pot of rice or something, put in the fridge, put in the freezer, partition it in small portions so that when you break your fast, it's very easy for you to take them out, reheat them, and nourish your body. It's very, very important for the things we use to nourish our body because that is the fuel that we're going to use to continue the fast the next day.
Yeah.
Hydration is a big deal during fasting. Now, some types of fasting are dry fasting, meaning you're not allowed to take any amount of water or fruit juices or any type of drinks, while some you're allowed to take sips of water. Now, depending on the type of fasting you embark on, please make sure that you drink enough water or rehydrate properly during the period you are allowed to eat. Now, you're doing this for 2 reasons. You're trying to make up for the lost fluids that you must have lost during the period you were fasting, and you're also trying to rehydrate and stay well hydrated for the periods ahead that you're going to be fasting.
Yes.
Now, please, if for any reason you feel dizzy, you feel a bit of headache, now, headache is a bit expected when you're fasting, and that's because of the change in the way and manner you're eating.
Yes.
But once it gets serious and you start feeling faint, you start feeling dizzy, your vision is blurry, please and please and please, I would advise you to take a break at that point, raise your feet above your head, and rehydrate immediately. Okay. You can rehydrate with water, you can rehydrate with a salt sugar solution, just to balance out the electrolytes that you have lost, and listen to yourself. If you feel you're able to continue the fast, then you continue the next day. But if not, please visit the doctor.
Okay.
Because it's very, very important for you to be in a very good state of health for you to continue the fasting and reap the benefits of the fasting.
Can you hear me, Ekemini? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, sorry, we're going to have to cut you there because of time. But then that was really insightful. And I'm sure everybody who is participating in any fast during this period have definitely learned a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
All right, then we will be going on a break. When we come back, Wake Up Nigeria continues. Don't go anywhere. Yes, we have James Iyke Somuga, popularly known as Jim Iyke. Now, he's a Nigerian actor born in Libreville, Gabon, and has been acting since 2001. Now, he's one of the highest paid actors in Nigerian movie industry. He's also a philanthropist, and he runs a foundation for children with special needs. Good morning, Jim Iyke.
Hello.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing quite well, thank you. How are you guys doing?
We're doing very well.
We're good. We're good.
You look like this lockdown is not affecting you in any way.
No, don't even say that.
This freshness overload.
Everybody is suffering in one shape or the other. Trust me. Everybody is.
So as we're seeing you like this, you're suffering.
So I'm wondering how the enjoyment phase will be if this is suffering.
We're wondering how your enjoyment phase will be if this is suffering. I won't mind suffering like this. Mike, what do you think?
In fact, we're coming to suffer with you, Jim Iyke. if the suffering like
you
this.
You guys are all charm offensive this morning. I could use some charm in this morning, trust me. It's been quite rude.
So, Jim, one of your most recent movies, Set Up, is on Netflix, and it has been, there's been some rave reviews when it comes to Set Up. You know, as normal, you'd always see those who are on both sides of the divide and all of that. But personally, I mean, considering the experience you've had in the industry so far, what made Set Up, shooting Set Up, or being a part of that movie, the Set Up, what made it, did it stand out for you? And if it did, what made it stand out?
I think basically what made it extraordinary, and this word is not used meanly. When I was approached the first time, I was in the middle of doing something that was entirely different. But my manager got the script to me early enough before we made a decision. And I thought, okay, this is special. But we didn't revisit the subject until I had a meeting with the CEO of Film One, Moses. Moses and I, we've been friends for a long time. There was a business I was pitching to them then that we were trying to bring a consortium of investors. And he told me, listen, Jim, I will go everywhere. There was an introduction I was looking for then. It was not related to setup.
Okay.
But he said, Jim, listen, there's a character we have in this movie, and there's no better actor suited in this part of the divide to do it than you. If you say yes, if you give it a nod, I'll introduce you to the person you want. And, on that premise, I say, yeah, okay, fine. I always felt there's a wriggle space. I always felt there's a wriggle space somewhere where I could say, listen, maybe their schedule didn't match mine or something. I was looking for some sort of excuse. And I agreed. It's one thing to read a script, visualize it as to its complete execution. I just thought these guys are possibly reaching. You understand?
Yeah.
I just thought, okay, maybe we've not arrived at that point yet where this movie might be possible. But we went ahead, came to terms, fixed everything we had to do, including talking about the back ends and whatever. And the project commenced. I remember the first time I came to set, spoke to Nee. Nee is that kind of director that is always holding things back. He never explains the full stretch of what he wants to do until he begins to execute. Okay? So when we had a conversation and it was very sparse, it wasn't exactly, he didn't fill in the blank spaces. I said, okay, this guy, first time I'm working with him, he's not exactly giving me the right vibes, but I'll still take a chance. We started shoot the first day, the crew, the cast, and everyone came. And they started. That's when I knew we were onto something really special. Okay. So we took time. It was predominantly a night shoot. We would sleep in the day and come at night from 6 and shoot till 2 a.m., 3 a.m., sometimes 4 a.m. the next morning. And when we finished it, trust me, even before it hit the theaters, I knew that this was possibly one of the best work we've done so far this part.
That's great. I want to move a bit to your personal life. Now, we understand that the lockdown met you outside Nigeria. How have you been managing, and how has that been for you?
Well, Paris is like my third home. Basically, my son lives here. It didn't change anything as regards my personal lifestyle. Whatever I'm going through now might be just psychologically, because we were in the middle of promoting my new project, Bad Comment, the movie. We just finished that, and I dare say that's my best work so far.
Wow.
And it's a strong solo effort that I think as a conductor, I created what I like to think is a symphony, a very special orchestra that involved everybody that might be some of the best hands in this space. When I was done, I was offered a deal to advertise the Times Square billboard in New York. I believe we're the first African movie to advertise there. So I took it out there. When we're done, it had to be with these 6 different cities to set up premium sites. So consequently, when we release, these are all the places on the East Coast, including Houston and Las Vegas, where I wanted to premiere.
Okay.
That was when it was beginning to be an epidemic. It wasn't a pandemic yet. In America, there were whispers of a possible lockdown. So I needed to get out of the country quickly to come home.
Yeah.
So I left and I had business in Iceland, quickly concluded that, and I had to stop over in Amsterdam for, something as a conference for another business I'm involved in. By the time I got to Paris, the airports were shutting down. I had 2 days to make Nigeria Paris. The airports were shutting down. I had 2 days to make Nigeria's at that time. The Air France stopped flights that same day. So I
Wow.
quickly made them purchase a ticket for me to get on a flight in the next 2 days to get to Nigeria.
Yeah.
And that didn't work. Turkish Airlines, yes, I believe. The day I made up my mind I was going to, they actually got me the flight was the day Nigeria shut down its borders as well. So, and as at that time, I didn't know my status because I traveled through some of the worst hit cities in the world. So there was concern as regards my status, and I said, okay, well, I'll do the quarantine here after 14 days, whether for good or for bad. I'll understand the next steps and coping mechanisms I had to embark on. But after 14 days, I don't know, miraculously, I found out that I was negative. I was given a clean bill of health, and I've been here for about 7 weeks now, and I'm
Wow.
with family. I'm chilling. I'm in the house. There's no big deal. It's just one of those things that you have to, I think, reset your mindset and quickly understand that this is the new order of life,
Yeah.
and it's just not use happening to everyone as a uniform. And then you cope. That's what this is. You cope, you adapt, you begin to survive, and then consequently thrive.
Oui, oui, oui. Comment ça va? You...
Ça va bien, messieurs.
Ah, très bien, très bien.
Oh, great. So your French has picked up, right?
Yeah,
Wonderful,
so
wonderful. So, just you personally, it's been what is the first thing you would do immediately this lockdown is over and you have freedom? What's the first thing you do?
I'm so sorry I didn't get that. Could you
Okay,
repeat the question,
once
please?
this lockdown is over and everybody's free to move around the world, what's the first thing Jim Iyke would do?
What I'm doing right now is that I've had my hand on the reset button and I've put my finger firmly on it. Okay? Everything at some point that I took for granted, everything that I gave excuses of not having enough time to do, and everyone that somehow I lost in my space because of the usual trivial excuse of being too busy, or they didn't catch up with the vibe, or didn't catch up with the times, or it just didn't walk into the immediate fixed or natural order of your life. I that For that reason, trust me, this is the time to bear personal responsibility and neglect it. I decided to restructure it and fit it back into my life. So once this is over, this is what we're going to understand. One, the lifelong pursuit you've embarked on all your life, trust me, it's not what is paramount. It's not the paramount. It's obviously the second tier of your life. The first tier of my life is how to engage completely with everything that I love, that's important to me, my sons, my immediate family, my friends, people that have supported me. It's a time for, like I told you guys earlier, it's a time for, I think when I get off here, I'll be more charm offensive. I'll be a lot more grateful for life. I lost someone that was kind of closely related to me in DC in the course of this disease at its worst time. I'm grateful for so many little things that I didn't understand before. I understand the secret of the small right now more than any other time in my life. And so this is a time to take life one step at a time, seriously. When this is over, I'm not in a rush to get back into general population and hit that speed button and get on the autobahn of life and start speeding off to nowhere to pursue another goal. All I want to do is actually, there's an appraisal right now with proper introspection of, and weighing of every aspect of my life. So there's a far more judicious plan to follow carefully what gives life a lot more bounds than what probably gives me a bigger check. That's what I understand now.
All right. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you much, Jim Iyke. Wish we had more time to talk to you, but then we have to go now. Wishing you the best. Enjoy Paris as much as you can. And yeah, hope to see you back soon in Nigeria.
Absolutely. You guys stay safe, all right? Thank you for having me on the program. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
come back with some French fries. It's been a wonderful show.
Yeah,
Thank you for being a part of the show.
Yep.
Big shout out to everyone who's been a part, all our guests, all of those who called in, and of course, Homely, NG, and yeah, we'll see you tomorrow. Same time, 6 a.m.
Bright and early. Mwah.